here's my take on this whole idea that we need to be running around the world controlling other people's countries and other people's destinies because we don't like the religion or we don't like their policies or whatever. That's called empire. You know, when one country basically controls most of the rest of the world, that's called empire. And the American empire is unraveling before our very eyes. Yesterday, the Brazilian newspaper O Globo revealed that our national security agency's spying program extends all the way to Latin America. It's not just the G whatever, the number of the, G8, G10, G12. And it's not just you and me. It's Latin America. Basing their report on a set of documents provided by whistleblower Edward Snowden. Hello, he's letting the South Americans know what we're up to. Could he be headed there? Anyhow, that newspaper in Brazil showed that the NSA has recorded the telephone calls, communications, and electronic data of the citizens and officials of countries including Venezuela, Brazil, Colombia, and Mexico. Even more concerning, the NSA has focused its Latin American spying operations on those nations' gas and energy industries using a program codenamed Boundless Informant. For Venezuelans, Mexicans, and Brazilians, those revelations were shocking and angering. But, they really shouldn't be surprising because we're an empire. And that's the problem. Like all empires, from the Romans to the Spanish to the British, to maintain an empire, you got to maintain control over other countries, especially countries that can provide essential natural resources like, Venezuela's oil. Sometimes the empire keeps control over countries by invading them, sometimes by economic bribery, other times by supporting covert actions against foreign governments, the way Reagan did with the Contras in the 80s. Other times, like the O Global report shows, the empire preserves its power by winning the information game, by spying, snooping on Mexican gas executives and Brazilian bureaucrats. It's just another way that our empire keeps itself on top of the global throne. This is how empires work. Constant warfare, foreign adventures, spy games. By directly and indirectly controlling much of the world, an empire can ensure a steady supply of all those natural resources and the strategic alliances that they need to stay on top. Empires, in a sense, are predators. They're actually parasites. They suck the marrow out of the bones of everyone else in order to grow and thrive. But in the end, if you look at the history of global empires, the British, the Romans, the Spanish, the Aztecs, the Greeks, eventually they fail. And they fail because they're empires. Those very things that make a country an empire have their own built-in limitations that end up bringing the empire down. Let me give you some examples. It is pretty damn expensive to keep building military bases all over the world. It's very expensive to go to war every decade or so. It's very expensive to fund the institutions that direct and manage the imperial war machine and its spy apparatus. Eventually, empires just are crushed by the weight of their own empire. Empires aren't fragile, by the way, just because they cost a lot. Another one of their weaknesses is that the very tactics that they use to keep themselves in power end up inciting other countries to rebel against them. The British learned this in their experience with us. Remember that? I mean, you don't remember that, but you read about that, right? 1773, Boston Tea Party, 1776, Declaration of Independence, and on it went. British learned about that with India. Mahatma Gandhi said, hell no, we won't go. We're going to spin our own cotton. We're going to make our own salt. The desire for self-determination is like a core fact of human nature. And that's why empires always, in the end, by their very presence, by the way that they run, invite backlash from the countries that they essentially occupy or manipulate. And for you and me, for Americans, the worst part of our imperial power posture is that maintaining empire funnels resources away from our problems here at home. I mean, look around you. Roads, bridges, water, and water treatment systems are crumbling. Our cell phone service is spotty. I just had a phone call a minute ago with Louise in my doctor's office. AT&T, bing! Oh, call failed. Guess what? Our broadband is among the slowest and most expensive in the developed world. Even our trains, they're state-of-the-art for the 19th century, but they're a joke compared to those of Europe, Japan, South Korea, China. Why? Because we're moving more and more of our national resources into empire and shredding in the process our social safety net and our education systems. Our country faces all kinds of really important problems, and none of them are going to be solved by building another military base in Japan or snooping on Mexican oil executives. We need to be taking the money and talent that we are now using to prop up our declining empire and putting that money to work rebuilding America, revitalizing our economy, rejuvenating our middle class. I mean, this history proves this. The Romans, the Spanish, the British, the Aztecs, the Incas, you name the empire. The Greeks, they grew powerful by military conquest, foreign adventurism. Eventually, they all overextended themselves, weakening their own foundations, and in the end, they all fell. Now, some fell really badly. Others, like the British, who ended their empire after World War I, made a reasonable transition from empire to nationhood. We should learn from that example and draw down our empire before it's too late, before we've collapsed into a pit we can't get out of. Let's end the empire and put America and Americans first.